One of the hardest things for many foreigners is really understanding what it means to take responsibility for someone you bring into your home here. Back home, maybe you're used to different social expectations and legal frameworks about moving in with a partner. But in the Philippines, when you invite a Filipina into your place, even if you're just dating and not married, you're stepping into a role that's much more than just a boyfriend. You're becoming her guardian, her financial support, sometimes her entire lifeline. And that can be overwhelming, especially when you're still getting your feet under you in a new country. I've seen this countless times. Guys who move a woman in after just a few weeks, thinking it's no big deal, and then suddenly they're the ones paying for everything. Rent, electricity, food, medical bills, family help, transportation, you name it. Sometimes the woman has no job or source of income here, and the foreigner quickly realizes he's supporting two people, not just himself. The financial drain alone can be enough to kill any relationship, but it's also the emotional toll that gets most guys. Imagine the pressure. You're working your job, trying to adjust to life here, and suddenly you have another person's well-being depending entirely on you. If she gets sick, you're the one running to the pharmacy or clinic. If she needs something for her family back home, you're the one who has to say yes or no. The stakes get high fast, and many foreigners aren't prepared for that level of commitment, especially early on. I remember one guy telling me about his experience. He moved a woman in after just a few weeks of chatting online and meeting once. At first, it was great. She was happy, the relationship was fun. But after a couple of months, she started asking for money to help her family, and then for new clothes, for a cell phone, and even to pay her debts. He tried to say no, but it caused fights. She threatened to leave, and he realized he didn't want that drama or financial responsibility. But since she was living with him, she basically had the upper hand. She knew his place, his schedule, and the longer she stayed, the more complicated it became to ask her to leave. This brings me to another cultural reality that trips a lot of foreigners up: the concept of utang na loob, or debt of gratitude. It's a core Filipino value that means when someone helps you, especially in a big way like providing a home or financial support, you owe them a deep sense of loyalty and reciprocity. This cultural expectation can become a double-edged sword. While it's about respect and honor, it can also lead to complicated emotional debts where a Filipina might feel stuck or pressured to stay even if the relationship isn't working. The problem is, many foreigners don't understand this from the beginning. They might see a girl moving in as a casual arrangement, but for her, it might be a huge step laden with emotional weight. She's aware that she now owes you in many ways, and breaking that can be very difficult, especially if she doesn't want to appear ungrateful or disrespectful. So if you decide to move a Filipina in, you have to be ready for all this. That means being patient, communicating clearly, and most importantly, having a plan. What if she decides she wants to leave? Are you ready to help her find a place, pay for her transportation, and get her safely back home if that's what she wants? You can't just assume she'll walk out the door the moment things get rocky, and believe me, they often do. One practical tip I always give is to set expectations early. Before she moves in, sit down and talk about what living together will look like. Who pays what? How long will she stay? What happens if either of you wants to end it? Make these conversations clear and as non-confrontational as possible, but don't skip them. They're crucial. It might feel awkward, but better awkward than heartache and fights later. I also advise keeping some physical and emotional boundaries, especially early on. Even when you live together, it's okay and healthy to maintain your own space. Maybe that means having certain times where you're just on your own or keeping some parts of the house as your personal domain. This helps prevent the feeling of being trapped or overwhelmed, which can happen quickly when living with someone new. Another key is to avoid importing a Filipina from another island or city until you've built a solid foundation. Flying someone in from Manila, Cebu, or another far-off place before you've met several times in person can turn your relationship into a high-stakes gamble. I've heard too many stories where guys bring a girl across islands after a few weeks of online chatting, thinking it'll be like a romantic movie. But when the reality sets in, they don't know each other well enough to handle the inevitable challenges. If it doesn't work, now you have to pay for her plane ticket home, plus housing and expenses while she stays with you. That's a big responsibility and expense many don't foresee. Locally dating women who live nearby offers a huge advantage. You can meet often, see her in different settings, and really get to know her before any big commitments. You can see how she handles family, stress, money, and daily life. That way, when you do decide to move in together or take the next step, you have a much clearer picture of what you're getting into. I also want to touch on the emotional vulnerability of foreigners here. Many of us come with broken hearts, past failures, or loneliness. The Philippines can feel like a fresh start, but that makes it easy to overlook warning signs in relationships. We want to believe in love and connection so badly that we jump in fast. That vulnerability makes us susceptible to rushing things like moving in together before it's right. I've been there myself, and I know the pull. But trust me, the price of rushing is high. You risk heartbreak, financial stress, and sometimes even legal problems if things get messy. And don't underestimate the power dynamics at play. Because many Filipinas are dependent financially when they move in, the foreigner often holds more power in the relationship. This can cause tension or resentment if not handled with respect and fairness. Healthy relationships need balance and mutual respect, not one person footing all the bills and making all the decisions. If you do end up needing to ask her to leave, be decent about it. Don't just toss her out on the street with a few pesos and a cold shoulder. Help her transition out. Pay for her transportation, cover a month's boarding house if needed, and make sure she's safe and supported. This isn't about spoiling her. It's about basic decency and responsibility. You brought her in. You have to help her get out. I can't stress this enough. One time, I helped a buddy who was stuck with a woman refusing to leave. We called condo security together. That was rough but necessary. Afterward, my friend bought a few pizzas for the guards as a thank you, and to make sure they kept an eye out. It's little things like that which keep the peace. So before you even think about inviting a woman to move in with you, stop and ask yourself, do I really know her? Am I ready to take full responsibility for her well-being? Do I have a plan if this doesn't work out? Because once she's in, it's your problem. Emotionally, financially, legally, you're in it. Take it slow. Date locally. Set clear boundaries. Protect your peace and your wallet. And always be prepared to be decent and responsible, no matter what happens. At the end of the day, the best relationships here happen when both people bring their best selves slowly and carefully, not when one person feels trapped or overwhelmed. It's about respect, trust, and taking responsibility for your actions. So don't be the guy who moves a Filipina in with no plan and then kicks her out with just 200 pesos. That's not just cruel, it's short-sighted. Be better than that. Be the guy who treats her with respect from the start, keeps his domain, and when it's time to part ways, helps her move on with dignity. That's the real key to building a successful relationship here in the Philippines, taking responsibility, respecting boundaries, and moving at a pace that works for both of you.